So what we're going to be doing in this video is we're going to be getting all of our elements imported and ready inside GameSalad. It's kind of like bringing all of your ingredients into the kitchen and ready before you start cooking. So make sure you follow along and have all the ingredients that I have before moving on to the next video. Now you notice by default GameSalad has this iPhone size stage set up for you, and that's by default here in the Windows version. And I often during these tutorials work with the iPad size, and that's really only to have a much larger area to demonstrate things with. That way you can see what I'm doing a little bit better. But for this tutorial, you might want to follow along using the iPhone graphics because perhaps your screen is smaller than mine. I'm using a 17-inch monitor right now, which allows me to kind of look at the iPad space perfectly. But if I had a smaller monitor, like a 15-inch laptop, it might be a little bit awkward to work with the iPad size. You have to scroll up and down and side to side a little bit. So it's completely up to you. Either work with the iPhone graphics or the iPad graphics while following along with this tutorial. But for me, I want to switch over to an iPad stage. So to do that, I'm going to go up to File, and then I'm going to go down to New. We don't want to save this, and I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the iPad landscape and create project. And now you can see I have an iPad. So what device you're going to use, you have to make sure you choose that before starting anything in your project. You can't switch it halfway through like you can with the Mac version of GameSalad. Here in the Windows version, you have to make sure that you choose which platform you're going to start building for at the very beginning before you start doing anything. So I've chosen the iPad. Stay with iPhone if you like. And now let's start importing in all of our actors and images. So you notice up here we have this icon for images and audio. I'm going to click on that, and we're going to click Add Images and Audio, or we can click this plus icon here in the corner. So I'll click that plus icon, and that will let us navigate to our images and audio folder. So let's start with some artwork. So we're going to bring in the background, the ground tile, and the pipe. We'll open that up. Again, I'll click this plus icon to get more images. Let's click on our bird. Select all of our bird images, which is frame 1 through 5, and we have a bird crash image. We'll open that up. And let's go ahead and grab our audio again by clicking the plus icon. And we have two audio files that we'll bring in, and we'll open that up. So what we want to do now is we want to start taking some of these images and turning them into actors so we can bring those actors here into our stage. And the way we do that is we're just going to simply click on the image and then drag it up here to the actor tab. And you can see the actor tab automatically opens up. Then we can just kind of just bring it down into this area. And now you see this new all tag that's been created. It's kind of like a folder. We'll talk about tags later. And if I open that up, you can see that that background image is now placed in there. So I can repeat this process by clicking on the Media tab. I'll click on the ground tile, drag that up to my Actor tab, and drop that actor in there. We'll do the same for the pipe image. And we're only going to grab the very first frame of the bird. You don't need to make all of these additional frames actors, and you also don't need to make the audio actors as well. So just the background, the ground tile, the pipe, and the very first frame of the bird needs to become an actor. So it's really important that you name your actors. When we start getting into the plugging and programming of attributes with these actors, we don't want to try to have to remember what actor 1 is or what actor 3 is or actor 4. So take a moment right now to double click on the word, and this first one is background. And then this second actor here is our ground actor. And this is the pipe. And this, of course, is the bird. So there's a few more actors that I want to create now, just blank, empty actors that don't require any graphics. But just create them as I create them here so that you have everything ready when we start to program everything. So again, I'll click the plus button, which creates this brand new actor called Actor 1. And I am going to call this actor Spawn Pipe. We're going to use that actor to kind of create pipes for us. I'm going to create another actor. I'm going to name this one Destroy Pipe. We'll use this actor to kind of remove pipes that fall off screen that we don't need anymore. And then a third actor that we'll call Destroy Bird, and we'll use this actor to prevent the bird from kind of flying too high. So you'll see all of that in a moment. So the next thing that I want to do is I want to increase the scene size quite a bit so that I have some empty space to my left, to my right, and to the top to work with here. So to do that, you'll notice down here we have a few tabs. We have a game tab, scene tabs, and an actors tab. So if I click on the scene tab here, you see that we have this size pull down. And by default, I have it set to the iPad size, which is 1024 by 768, because I chose the iPad scene to start working with. But I want to change this. So I'm going to change this to 1359. And the only reason I'm choosing 1359 is I know that 1359 is the exact size of my ground actor here. And if you don't know the size of your ground actor, all you need to do is click on it and then look at the actor tab right here and then scroll down to size. So you can see that my ground actor is 1359. So if you're working with the iPad, you're going to want to, again, click on the ground, click on the actor tab, and then see what the width is. And that's the width that you want to make your scene. So again, I'm back inside my scene tab, and I switch this from 1359. And then I need to just increase the height a little bit. So from 768, I'll just do something like 900. And that just gives me some room to work. So now you can see above the camera lines, which are these white lines that we see here, I have a little bit of extra room up here, and I have a little bit of extra room over on the right-hand side as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this tab that we see right here next to the play button, and that allows me to kind of move where my camera's start position is. So again, my camera is all the way to the left and the bottom of this kind of workspace that I've created. This is my entire game world. And I just want to move this over a little bit. So I'm going to kind of scroll this to the middle. And I'm going to push my camera over a little bit. I can click this icon right next to it to kind of get back to my regular workspace. And I want to just scroll this over so I'm in the center of this workspace. And I want my camera to sit all the way at the center and at the very, very bottom. And then I'll click that to get back to a regular workspace. So you can see now if I scroll up and down, there's this little space above my camera. And if I scroll left and right, I have space to the left of the camera and a space to the right of the camera. And this is kind of off camera, so we won't see anything that exists in this space. We only see things that exist inside this space. And to demonstrate that right now, I'm actually going to drag in the background image. So just drag that into the stage. And I'll get that aligned perfectly with the camera border lines. And again, don't forget that you can use your arrow keys to shift things over just 1 pixel. So I'll just push the right arrow key. And you can see that we can shift these things over 1 pixel and get things lined up perfectly. So now I'm going to hit preview by clicking the play button. And you can see that we don't see any of the space to the left or to the right or above. We only see what those camera lines show us perfectly. So we have our background in there. I'm going to click the Back to Editor button up here at the top left. And I accidentally turned on Backstage, so to turn that off, I can click this icon right here next to the play button. Close that down. And what we want to do is we want to add in the rest of our actors. So I'm going to click on the ground actor. And as I drag this in, I'm going to drag it into this empty area, because you notice if I drag it over the background actor, it wants to change the image. So make sure you don't do that. So let's go ahead and just drag it into this empty area here. And I'm just going to get this positioned exactly. Now, we're going to loop this actor in a little bit, so you want to make sure that you have this lined up perfectly too. So I'm going to go all the way to the left of my viewable world here, and I'm going to align this background actor or this ground actor, so it's sitting all the way at the bottom, and then I want to make sure that it's exactly set up like that. So you can see that it goes all the way from the right side of the screen to the left side of the screen perfectly. And again, that's why I set up my scene to have the exact same width dimensions as this ground actor. So we don't need to actually put the pipe into our scene, because we're going to be using the spawn pipe actor to essentially give birth to the pipe and bring the pipe into the scene. So we'll just take our spawn pipe actor and put it over on the right. We want to keep this actor in the kind of center of our screen vertically. Just like that. And then we will take the destroy actor, or destroy pipe actor, and drag that over on the left-hand side here. And I'm just going to resize that a little bit, because our pipes are going to be quite large coming across the screen, so we want to make sure that this is about as large as our pipes, which that should be just fine. And we'll set that up right about there. And then we can bring our bird in. Again, if I were to drag my bird on top of the background now, it wants to change the image, so just drag it into this empty space. And then we can drag our bird and place our bird into our scene. And then the very last thing we're going to do is drag this destroy bird actor. And we're going to put that up here, just above the bird's position. You can change the size of this actor a little bit. So we only have two more things to create to finish our setup, and those are attributes. And again, with the actors that we created and these attributes, you don't know what they're going to do right now, but we're going to explain that very quickly. So what we want to do is we want to click on the Game tab here. So click on this Game tab that has the little home icon. And you'll notice that there is a plus icon here as well. This allows us to create brand new attributes, and we're going to use these attributes to keep track of a few things. So we'll click on the plus icon, and the attribute that we want to create is a text-based attribute. Again, you'll learn what this is in a moment if you don't already know. So I'll click text, and you notice that a new attribute is created here, and of course it's named new attribute. So I'm going to name this attribute bird state. And by default, by clicking on this empty area here, I'm going to type in the word fall. So by default, our bird is falling. Let's create a new attribute. And again, this is a text-based attribute that we're creating. And we're going to name this one bird hit. And again, you can click in this empty area right here, and we're going to add in some text. And the text that I'm going to add in by default is no. So again, don't worry about what these mean right now. You're going to learn in a moment. But basically, I'm saying that the bird state by default is the bird should be falling by default. So if I'm not tapping the screen to get my bird to fly, he should be falling. And has the bird hit anything by default? Has it hit the ground or a pipe? And by default, we know our bird hasn't hit anything, so that's why I typed in the word no. Now, with text-based attributes, you can pretty much type in anything you want. You can put in kitten, puppy, rainbow, whatever you want to put in this area, you can, of course, type into this area. I'm just typing in words that are easy for me to understand. You don't have to type in specific programming words like true or false or no or yes. You just have to type in words that make sense to you. And in this case, fall makes a lot of sense and no makes a lot of sense. So again, create two attributes, bird state and bird hit, and then double click and make them fall and no by default. And now you're ready to move forward to the next set of videos in programming this whole Flappy Bird tutorial.